I cannot believe it's been 20 years of rescuing horses with Equine Voices Rescue and Sanctuary. I started by rescuing my love of my life, Spirit, who I rescued in California. And at that time I rescued another horse as well, Big Bud. They're both since passed, but they were really the catalyst to really get me here to Arizona. And then I found out about the Premarin issue when I was in California working on a wild horse sanctuary. I decided to rescue 4 babies, Gulliver, Spanky, Deuce, and Bella. And they really are the highlight of this event this evening. They were the catalyst for me starting Equine Voices in 2004, which is celebrating 20 years, which is hard to believe here in Amado, Arizona. So I started with 6 horses, and I decided that I could do more. And so in 2004, I decided to file for the 501c3, and shortly after that, I did rescue 15 pony skin babies that were being slated for their leather hides, and they were a month to 2 months old. So early on in 2005, the nonprofit status came in, and 20 years later, here we are. It's just mind-boggling to me that we've saved so many lives, and we're celebrating 20 years of saving lives and really bringing awareness to the plight of all animals, but especially the equines. It's a heartfelt story of perseverance. I believe that you can overcome anything if the purpose is there and the intention is there. I was faced with 21 horses, absolutely no money. I'd used all my savings to start this organization, and I was scared. And I wasn't getting paid at the time because I was building the organization, and I knew that I had to go to work. It was either making a choice of going back to the corporate world, which is where I was from, or working at night and keep working towards getting this organization up and running. And at that time, I was by myself pretty much. I'll never forget the life-changing moment for me, one of the many that I've had here, was number one, I was so scared. I was either going to give it up and not even go for it, and then what's going to happen to the 21 horses? I work at night, or I just quit. So we have a big tree that's in the main round pen, and I'll never forget, I got on my knees, and I'm a spiritual person. I wouldn't say I'm religious, but I do believe in the higher power. And I got on my knees and I said, Dear God, if I'm supposed to be doing this, if I'm meant to continue this work, then I need help. I need help. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes on my end to make it happen, because I have 21 lives depending on me, and I need help. And I got the job at the Two-Back Resort. I started waitressing at night. I started being able to feed myself. My sister sent in a donation for hay because I was, how am I going to feed the horses? You know, I'd gone through my savings. And then Diana Medeiros, who's a famous artist in Tucson, donated from her foundation. And that kind of got me up and running. And next thing I knew, people started coming to help and volunteers happened. But that was the pivotal point in my life for Equine Voices, was getting on my knees under that tree and asking for help. And it changed everything for this organization. I know that somebody listened to my calling because the horses needed help, and I think that was obvious. When I got on my knees under that tree, I looked at the pebbles in the road, and I looked at it and I thought, maybe I could save 5,000 of them at once. But I realized way at the beginning that I can do what I can do in my little corner of the world. And I'm really serious about that. So I looked at one pebble and I said, I can save that one. It's that starfish theory. Every day I get a phone call. This horse has been abandoned. This horse is starving. This horse is this. I can only do what I can do, and hopefully through the networking and trusting people, other groups that do ethical work, that we can also place horses in other organizations that are ethical and are responsible. But the reality is we can't save them all unless people start becoming more aware of the issues and start being responsible for the care of their own animals. And that's a big challenge for me because it hurts my heart, because I can't save them all. At that point, we had 10 acres, and we had enough to sustain what we brought in. And managing a rescue isn't just about bringing in horses and feeding them. It's about managing the property, the land, the manure, the funding, of course. Hay, it's doubled. Everything's doubled the last year or two. Trying to manage the number that you bring in versus the manpower, the finances, the land base. We have 25 acres now, And honestly, it's all been because of the donors and because of the people that really believe in our cause and have faith in us. And there's so many charities out there that they can donate to, but we could not do this without the support of our board, our donors, our volunteers, our sponsors, people that donate to our events and things like that. I think a lot of people think running a rescue is so glamorous. Oh, trust me, it's not. It is. There's so many moving parts. There's everything from grant writing to the office to sending out thank you notes to our donors, which is really critical and important to me, to make sure it's a two-way conversation. Everybody that donates or supports us gets acknowledged in some fashion, even the little things. COVID was a good year for us because people weren't going out, they weren't driving, they had a little extra money. So we had a pretty good year with donations. Now is a whole different story. The economy's in trouble, inflation, all that. You know, managing the people, managing the staff. We have payroll, we have this, we have that. Hay, what if we don't get a hay delivery and we have 62 horses that we have to feed? There's just so much to it, and I think sometimes people get into the nonprofit rescue world thinking that it's glamorous and it's all peaches and cream. It's definitely a passion, it's definitely a purpose. I started on a wing and a prayer, and I just have been really blessed and very lucky that it's kind of evolved to this point. And I'm here to help anybody, any other organization that needs help. I'm not the expert, but I'm happy to help. So there's so many moving parts to making an organization like this work. And like I said, by the grace of a higher power, we're still here. It's amazing, really. And it's been because we've had a really strong community and people that have really wanted to help, and that is the bottom line. We've rescued several mustangs, about 13, from Devil's Garden Plateau, and some of you may know about it. In Northern California, there were 907 in that roundup, and they were rounded up by helicopters. We had enough capacity to take 11 at the time, and the only space we had was in our 90 by 180 arena. So they lived there for quite a while. And the reason why the 10-acre habitat with the Mustang barn is so critical is that now they have 10 acres to roam on. It was an interesting series of events trying to move them from the arena to their new habitat. It was quite an ordeal. We had to put up panels, portable panels, and run kind of a chute. And we tried to do the Fruit Loop Trail with alfalfa. So we did the Fruit Loop Trail with alfalfa, trying to get one horse to go through. And once one went through, we thought they would all go through. It took a while for them to understand that we had bits of alfalfa, but eventually they all followed and ended up in their new habitat with very secure fencing, a brand new 8-stall barn, 7 stalls and one tack room basically, lots of shelter, lots of shade, lots of trees, and now they're living the high life. And we've recently had a baby born, and he's growing up to be this big guy, and his mom would have gone to slaughter. She and her buddy had health issues, and they came from the same Devil's Garden herd, and they were in the holding facility. And we received a call from the Wild Horse Preservation Campaign and asked if we would take those two, and we did, not knowing that Gigi was pregnant. So Eclipse was born under the eclipse moon, and we named him Eclipse. And if this habitat wasn't here, he wouldn't be here. None of them would be here. And that's what our community and the donors and the people that support Equine Voices have done to make a difference for the lives of these beautiful, incredible horses that actually built our country. In Arizona, it's not a law to have shelter for horses, which I think is a complete disgrace. All of our horses have shelter, and the Mustang barn, the east side of it has pens with an awning shelter, but the other side is open, so there's always shade. It's a big shelter. And they have a lot of trees, so they can hunker under the trees if they don't want to go under the shelter. Now, in Gulliver's Corral, we have a really big shelter for those horses. And it's funny because Gulliver loves the sun. He doesn't care about the heat, but one raindrop and he runs underneath the shelter and he takes everybody with him. And so my philosophy is, first of all, I think it should be a law that anybody that has a horse in Arizona should have a shelter for the horse, whether they're standing in a 10 by 10 or they're on 1,000 acres. They should have a choice to either get out of the rain or get out of the sun, and it's up to them to decide what they want to do. So that's why I've worked really hard to raise the funding to make sure every single one of our corrals has some kind of shelter for the horses. So they have a choice to either get out of the sun, get out of the hail, get out of the rain, and if they decide to stand in it, that's their choice. But at least I've provided everything that they need to make their lives better. Currently, some of our needs are land acquisition, because every day I get phone calls for horses that need help. But maintenance, general maintenance. We did just acquire through a grant a used backhoe, which was necessary. As our horses age out, we need a way to send them to the Rainbow Bridge, and give them their dignity of passing over. Fencing. We need fencing in the burrow habitat, and I'd like to get more permanent fencing in the west 5 acres of the Mustang habitat. We did recently, through a grant, purchase these feeders that are incredible. If we get more land, then that would be next on the list. It is not only helping on waste, like waste of hay, but labor, and it's keeping the horses where they can eat all day long, giving them more of a natural environment. And I've seen a whole difference in not only their attitude, but their weight and their coat. It's just really changed our lives here for everybody. And if we do acquire more land, then we're probably looking at another barn and those sorts of things. And then basic maintenance, a backup fund for if the well breaks down or if our equipment. Recently, our quad spent 3 weeks in the doctor's office. Our quad broke down, and that is our machine that we use to drag all the corrals with. Eventually, we'll need a new one. It has 21,000 miles on it. It's a workhorse. It works hard. So eventually our equipment is going to start needing to be retired. So a fund for that, so funds to go towards equipment replacement is critical for the operation, the day-to-day operation for the organization. And then of course, hay, vet bills, special supplements, everything is doubled, so it's incredibly expensive. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any grass, so everything that we feed the horses, we have to pay for. So those are immediate needs at this point. As I mentioned earlier, I started this organization literally on a wing and a prayer, and then I got on my knees because I was in trouble. I felt like I was in trouble. And if it wasn't for the community support, our donors, our volunteers, our board of directors, people that just lend a hand, where we're at today it's all about gratitude for me. I want this organization to continue on even after I'm gone, even though I'm not going anywhere yet, but to continue on. And in order for us to do that, we need to continue to be systematic, be a team, continue to remember why we're here, and know that we're making a difference in the world in our small pocket in Amato, Arizona, even though we've branched out nationally. I think if we can always remember the purpose and the purity of this organization, I think there's no doubt in my mind that this organization will be here for a really, really, really long time. I can't thank all of you enough for coming to the event this evening, for supporting us, and I invite anybody that hasn't come to the sanctuary, come for a tour. We would love to share our miracles with you and meet the animals that you're supporting. So I'm full of gratitude. Thank you.